he's kind of been the biggest proponent of that in the Swiss round.
Yeah, and we are about to get underway here. I'm going to be interested to see where the spells fall and whether the two red mages is going to be worth it or whether having the black mage is going to win out.
You know, we don't see rerolls happen very often based on magic, but looking at these two runners, I think they're two of the more likely ones to do it if the spell dictated.
We're off now. We're going to take a look at the white magic shop here. We've got Invis 2, Wall, and Heal 3 all at level 1.
That's what I kind of call the unfortunate stack. Especially with double red mages, this is the situation where it's a little unfortunate, because you're going to have to make choices. I'm thinking I've got to get the Invis 2 on both red mages. And I've got to have that Ice 3 on both red mages.
Definitely, and unfortunately, they don't have the money for Ice 3 right now. The only thing they're going to have money for is the Quad X spell, so that might be mandatory for at least one of our casters, where it puts Edgeworth in a little better position because he could just grab that on his black mage without sacrificing a slot on his red. Unfortunately, that Wall, a very important spell for endgame, is in the 2 slot, which is going to be prohibited from both red mage and red wizard this game.
Yeah, this is where you're going to really hope that the edges not the edges, the imps just don't have anything unpleasant. It's like Edge did make the choice to put Quad X on the red mage, so he's got double Quad X's to fire away here.
So by itself is not a bad spell. It will eliminate any non-elemental, non-undead with 300 hit points or less that does not resist that ability. There are a couple of monsters that can resist. I think nightmares are on that list, but generally it will kill just about anything with under 300 hit points.
Yeah, so one win and you can afford all the Ice 3 your heart desires, but here's where it really is unfortunate when you have to make choices between that black magic and the white magic.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you on the... Did you say that was the crown in the item shop there?
That was the crown in the item shop right there. I think it was 24,000.
Ooh, crown early is it can be suggestive of a ship start. We have to see what King and Sarah give after Garland here, but the early crown opens up some treasure chests early, which could suggest a ship TNT seed.
It's also a case where if you're getting the canoe from the king or the princess, you might be a little more able to leave that item behind until you've got more money for it, though 8,000 goes a long way towards buying things.
And something happened with Will. Unfortunately, he is re-rolling his party. I don't know if he managed to not save or is making a change in decision here.
Let's see, he took 2 red mages, knight and white mage before. We'll see if he sticks with that, or this may have been... may have not liked his spell lineup.
Nope, he's taking a 3rd red mage. He is pulling a move from the one loss he has to Ikben Maya, where Ikben Maya switched to 3 red mages at the start of a game. Now Willcleosis is pulling out the 3rd red mage. It's going to be interesting to see how this affects him.
Cabins at 59 gold, not great, not horrible. Very cheap houses, but it's going to take a little while before you can afford them.
We do have the canoe. That's not... Oh, there's the floater. Never mind. This is going to be some kind of blitz seed right now.
The one downside, though, is with that lineup, that could lead to a little bit of a lead here for Edgeworth just because he was able to get through it that much faster.
Yeah, the only way Will could save time here is by... I was going to say by going and just getting Temple of Fiends and beating Garland, because a level or 2 early on is not the huge deal. Okay. I was wondering if he had saved there, and so...
Well, that is a good thing. Maybe he was checking the encounter table to see what he could get away with. With Quad X, you should have no fear of going into Garland. Quad X is going to take him out. You just have to get the cast off.
Yeah, and all he has to do is get in there, maybe get that 8,000 gold chest in the bottom left and go kill Garland, and he's really not that far behind despite re-rolling. The first couple of levels roll in fairly quickly. It's just a matter of kind of having a little bit of that indecision hurting him. Unfortunately, going in at level 1 is a little bit of a risk. I know some people take that first fight with the imps to get to level 2 before coming here. Sometimes I'll just race right in here and hope for a luck of the encounter table and turn order to get through here fine. But yeah, getting that 8,000 gold chest and then Quad X and Garland, which I guess he's just running back to town now.
Right, so he's taking the 8,000 gold back, which is going to let him buy whatever spells and even weapons potentially that he wants. So can see where that play has potential if you know the encounter table is going to be forgiving enough.
I hate to say this, but I wonder if he's using that money to skip Quad X on any of his red mages.
3 red mages, you've got to have Quad X on one of them, don't you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, getting heal 3 at 1 is very nice. But, I mean, I don't know. Quad X is very useful on heavily wounded fiends, but it looks like... Okay, he is grabbing Quad X on 1, so he is going to treat one of his red mages more like a black mage, at least in the level 1 spells. But unfortunately, he is going to lose that access to wall altogether, so he's got to find more than one ribbon, hopefully.
Alright, I just couldn't imagine totally bypassing Quad X. It is too good against early roadblocks like Carry 1. It can just get you through that fight so much easier. Even these unrunnable ogres.
Yeah, I mean, if you get favorable rolls, single hydras on the river are a good amount of experience for a single Quad X cast. There's a handful of other monsters. The Eye in the Ice Cave perhaps has less than 300 hit points. That can go down pretty easily.
Yeah, the level 1 Quad X can kill a lot of eyes really quickly. So here, Edgeworth is going to give us a look at the level 3 Black Magic. We've got Temper for sale.
Yeah, Temper is perfect right in that level, especially when there's not that much other black magic in there. We'll see it's in the white shop, but depending on what's in the white shop, it looks like he's going to have plenty of Tempers. We got Life 2 in a white wizard spot. That's not bad. You certainly would prefer that to be in slots 1 or 3, but at least now you know those Temper charges are not going to compete with Life 2 on a class like a Red Mage. So, a little silver lining for that cloud.
Certainly rather have that available to the Knight. Life 2 on the Knight is just a dream spell for him to have.
Yeah, absolutely, especially considering he gets an even progression of spell charges. We still got to go look at Provoca to see what's at level 2, and I think Edgeworth looks like he skipped the level 4, and I don't blame him because you don't have the charges for that, and you probably can't afford them, and you've got the floater to go get cash elsewhere. You're probably going to come back when you get the class change anyway, so I don't mind this move.
I'm intrigued by Willcleosis routing here. He found the giant sword with the dwarves, which is definitely going to help, but the decision to put off going to Temple of Fiends here.
Yeah, I wonder if he is... I mentioned when we saw the crown that there's a likelihood, there was a small likelihood that it could have been a ship seed. Perhaps he was banking on that and trying to find maybe the ship or the bridge in Dwarf Cave or something. Not 100% sure, but I know that early crown can be indicative. In this particular case, it wasn't.
All right, so he got the money from the southern chest earlier. He's heading up to a little bit more cash and the ice armor, which is going to be a very welcome sight for his fighter. Edgeworth is making the trek over to Crescent Lake. He's picked up level 5 now.
Yeah, rumor has it that Willcleosis overslept, and the reason for this match is that he overslept, so maybe he's a little groggy, maybe he's a little tired. It's causing him to have a clouded judgment in his decision-making. We'll see if he wakes up at some point in this game.
It was a very deliberate routing decision to re-roll to avoid Temple of Fiends. I'd be curious his reasoning for it. And Looks like Will wants to see what the pirates have to offer.
Yeah, and the one downside is you still haven't seen the white magic at 2. He doesn't realize yet he's going to be locked out of life 2. Very underwhelming white spells. Soft is utility. Cure 2 is a little better than potions, and Harm 2 is really only if you're giving your white mage something to do.
Well, sometimes that helps. Life at level 2. So as far as the support magic goes, very good deal to have the red mages. They'll be able to support the knight quite well.
We got fast in the black magic shop at 2, so right now I'm not seeing a whole lot of reason for the black mage with both fast and temper at level 2. Unfortunately, we don't have life 2, or so far we don't have life or life 2. Yeah, we don't know where life is. It could be at 5, but we don't have life in a red mage spot. But at this point, I do wonder if the black mage is going to pull any major weight that a second red mage would not have pulled as well.
So approximately a 7-minute gap for Will to pick up the King and Princess items, the canoe and floater.
Yeah, that's got to be a pretty rough start. And unfortunately, when you're facing somebody like Edgeworth, those 7 minutes are going to be incredibly tough to not only get back, but even maintain. I expect pure execution to have this gap widen.
Yeah, now that pickup gap doesn't tell 100% of the story. It's useful for trend information. But Will also already went to the dwarves, so he knows he doesn't have to go back in there. He's got money, he's got save items, he should be able to make this trek to Elfland pretty quickly. So that's more like a 5-minute gap.
Yeah, unfortunately, heading over into the dwarf areas twice is a little bit of a setback. To head to the dwarf cave and then come back and then head to that region again, it's a little bit of a double dip that's going to set him back. But if he can get over there reasonably, he can take to the skies, get some of the items, and then it's going to come down to routing decisions on whether or not he can make up any time.
And there is the bottle. And you'll pick that up at 11 minutes. And all of a sudden, we're only down to 4 incentive locations left.
The spell list still leaves a lot to be desired at this point. The top spell for the first 3 levels in Black Magic is Ice 3, so we're going to have a little bit of difficulty going through the Ice Cave at this point, mostly with Ice 3 not going to do a whole lot of damage to the undead. Harm 2 is probably about the next best thing they have. We'll still have to take a look at level 4 magic and see if it gives us anything useful. But the Ice Cave might be a later play than one would expect. Also including we haven't seen Warp or Exit yet. I expect our runners probably to hit the Volcano or Castle Ordeals first.
We have a Flame Shield, which goes very well for the Ice Armor. You can stack the different element resistances. We don't have an early tail, which isn't a huge concern, but it is nice when you're able to just go ahead and class change and have that out of the way.
Yeah, by and large on this flag set, you want to get that as soon as possible, as we have a ship sighting in the Cardia Islands. You want to get that class change as soon as possible, mostly because it will allow you to equip any upper level armor that you find, white shirt, black shirt, opal armor, opal anything, dragon armor, Aegis shield, whatnot. Also, if you get that class change before level 15 on your fighter can start accruing white magic points every other level up to 4 charges. And so you want to start getting those charges as soon as possible.
Will just found out the news about Life 2, kind of stuck on that screen for a minute, and then moved on.
Yeah, that's got to be hurtful a little bit to change out that white mage for a red mage. And unfortunately, our runners do not know or are not supposed to know what the spell lists are coming up. And so changing out of that white mage definitely is going to sting a little bit.
Yeah, now I'm a proponent of if the seed dictates, go ahead and re-roll your class, because you don't really give that much up. Like I said, I think at most he's given up 5 minutes. So if the spell list dictates, you could make up 5 minutes with good spell selection. I don't think that's one that personally I would have pulled the trigger on.
Yeah, I mean, if he had rolled double red and black, one could justify that because the black magic has been very red mage friendly, red mage, red wizard friendly. So one could argue that you could roll out of a black mage and into a white mage, but rolling out of a white mage is a pretty risky deal.
Yeah, if that had been a case where, say, Fade was red mage learnable, then that's the kind of thing that would prompt me to say, well, I'd rather have a red mage then.
Yeah, and ETAP, one of our regulars hanging out in the tavern here, pointing out that when Ikman Maya did this in his match against Willcleosis, Fade was level 1. And so you knew you were going to have a lot of charges of a very powerful spell before making that reroll. I think that the spell list was a little underwhelming to even make that decision at level 1.
Kind of interesting that that Edge did not route in a check with the Circle of Sages. So this is actually going to be something where Will gets it first.
I think if Edge gets back to it at some point, which is the loot, so I mean, I guess ideally if it were the tail, you'd have a small advantage, but realistically, with no armor to equip and not pushing that level 15 threshold, it almost doesn't matter whether it's the tail or not.
Looks like we had Fade and Exit at level 6 white magic.
If Exit's in that top slot, it is not usable by the red wizard. Otherwise, level 6 spells accrue very late for the red wizard as well.
Yeah, I think at this point they've really got to hope for Warp to be at level 5. And Edge finds the TNT to go along with the chip.
Yeah, and now we're making good use of that Quad X one-shotting that Grey Worm. Free and easy experience. There's our dragon armor, as well as a ruby. The ruby's useless unless you want to go feed that welfare queen of a titan. But that dragon armor is going to come in handy as soon as Edge finds the tail.
Now, there is something to be said for the idea of if I'm killing pings fast enough, then I don't need life spells. You don't see that very often in these Swiss flags, but there is something to be said for that.
Now Will's making his first trip to Veroka here to go take on Vicky and get his cube. He is going to be disappointed with the white magic selection. Cure 2 and Harm 2, I think, are the best spells at this level. He'll probably be glad to see Fast, but unfortunately he's not going to find anything that justifies rolling out of that white mage.
And down go the pirates. So, as far as collection of incentive locations go, Wilson has actually taken the lead on that front now.
Yeah, but Edge did kind of what I mentioned earlier. I kind of expected him to go, or I expected our runners to go to the volcano first. Ice 3 with a lead, plus checking the armory will net you a good number of chests and preferably levels as well. He might head to Castle Ordeals at this point with a couple of levels in hand. He has not, Fuchsia pointing out in chat, he has not checked the level 4 spells yet, so we actually don't know what is there. Black and white mages can use those at level 8, whereas red mage, I think it is 11 or 12 before they get their first charge of level 4 magic. And so red mages are nice because they're the sort of jack of all trades, but if the spells aren't within the top 3 early or top 4 late, 4 maybe 5 late, red mages do taper off after a bit. That's why I think this is a red mage friendlier black magic set, minus the damaging spells.
Well, Edgeworth was able to get enough money to do the crown, and now it looks like he's going to complete that chain, which is very quick when you have the airship.
And he's going to get to
that
check.
I'm wondering about, though, this is standing out to me. He was at the volcano. That's close to Crescent Lake. That really surprises me that twice he's been in the area and twice hasn't gone. I think Edge thinks he already got the item. Otherwise, I can't imagine why he wouldn't have gone after Volcano.
if he hasn't checked the spells at 6 yet, he's probably thinking he's going to wait till he gets the tail, route the level 6 spells over there, and then go get the Sage's item, which we know is the...
That'd be the
loot. Yes. This is why you write things down.
It is. I don't memory well. Speaking of what I have written down so far, we have found the crown. It was for sale in Canaria for about 24,000 and change. The king handed over the canoe. Princess had the floater. Pirates were holding onto the cube. Sages had the loot. Sarda had the bottle. And I... Looks like I'm right. Thought I had a hiccup there.
No, I think I've got it too.
Okay. Edge has the key. And looks like he's going to go for that level 4 magic shops now.
All right, so we're going to get to take our first look over here at what is at 4. Here's the white magic. We've got life in a red wizard spot.
All right, that is going to be good news for Will. You'd hate to be locked down completely. Obviously, you'd rather have life too, but you can't take it for granted. Having 3 people casting nuke, though, that's going to feel pretty good.
The one downside to that is they won't get those charges of nuke until it's either 11 or 12. I cannot remember from that red mage. It'll be nice after that, as red mage gets a good bit of those low-level charges, but reasonably getting to 11, he's going to have to rely on that ice 3. And he's probably going to need to hang out just a little longer in some places.
Silver bracelets for 6k. That's not that bad. Edge picks up 1. It's decent to absorb for the money.
Yeah, and I expect to, we're routing in the crown chest now. You're going to get 24 free chests out of this, and so there's a lot of chances for a good amount of money, and potentially we're looking for ribbons. We're looking for a heavy-hitting sword. Who knows?
A light axe pickup for Will. That'll help put you in better shape to go to Castle Ordeal.
And there's a trash can in the Northwest Castle.
World's sword we found so far. Edgeworth picks up the Warble.
It is the world's sharpest trash can. As he's going into Melmond now, we're going to get a check of what the level 5 magics are. We've got Harm 3. That's about it in the level 5 white, in which Red Wizard would get the top 2 slots. Red Mage gets the top slot. We have Fire 3, which is also Red Mage, Red Wizard learnable. So there's some firepower there at 5, but it's going to take a bit to get a charge of that.
And Will, running into the Lit 3 Giants, is not having a nice time trying to get out of this volcano.
Oh, this is definitely not looking good for Will. And unfortunately, we can't really say enough. He's going to go back and watch his VOD. We can't say enough. Unfortunately, rolling out of that white wizard was more of an ill-advised play. As we see him take a wipe in that volcano. Unfortunately, that's going to be a setback for however many items he decides to go back in there and get. Sometimes having the knowledge is good. But when it comes to the expense of a death, you're going to have to route some of that back in.
I don't think that's actually a case where it cost him anything, because I don't think the White Mage would have survived the Lit 3. There's our first ribbon. Dwarves holding on to it. That's going to make Edgeworth feel a lot better.
And that should help Will when he gets around to doing his Crown Chain quests as well. Because Wall was in slot 2 of white magic at level 1, that is barred from access from his red mages. So the more ribbons that Willcleosis finds, the better off he's going to be.
You know what? Credit Ali G. That's a great point that I neglected to make. This was a ninja seed. We found the katana early. Of course, we don't have the tail yet, but
I think
find
you're
it in the
absolutely
incentive
right. Yeah, you're pretty well right with fast at 2, temper at 3. Yeah, this is, and there's a second ribbon right here in the crown chest.
Joined by an ice sword, which is good for a red mage. Well, yeah, knight for now. After class change, red wizard can take it. So 2 ribbons for Edge is going to feel really good and might even justify being in equipment go mode with the Vorpal.
Yeah, you're pretty close. You just got to find that tail wherever that is. You're probably going to come across it. The only way you wouldn't come across it is if it's in the waterfall cave. One may figure out, decide whether or not they justify going into the waterfall cave for the tail. I would, considering you're holding dragon armor and the Vorpal sword. I would for those 2 items alone.
There's a couple different ways you can route this, any of which makes sense. So fade at level 6, eggs at level 6. A couple different ways you can route it, but something's going to be last. If tail is last, maybe Edge takes a pass on it. Well, I can't imagine though with the Vorpal that he would.
Well, if you got to look at what sort of the value you get for the tail is. If you hadn't found major knight armor, I could understand skipping it. But you found major knight armor, you found a knight weapon, albeit the trash can blade. The question you got to look at is, all right, what other benefits do you get for class changing? Are the spells good for class changing? We noticed with Life 2, it is white mage locked, so that's not really beneficial on a class change. We saw that Wall is white mage, white wizard locked, not really beneficial for a class change. One could argue if it's there, perhaps Will skips over it to try and save some time, as he's got to feel like he's behind, and maybe he's going to be satisfied with his ice armor, potentially 2 ribbons.
Here's the one thing that will have to feel good about, though, is there's no way Edge has 3 characters who can cast Nuke. So in terms of going through dungeons, once you have some basic levels, Will should be able to do that at a considerably different pace than Edgeworth is. The other interesting thing is Will's given us a routing divergence going to the Earth Cave.
Yeah, I gotta go with Fuchsia before he says it. Friends don't let friends dive Earth. I think that being the level you are, you're probably a little, I don't want to say too low a level for this, but oftentimes our runners like to blaze through the Earth Cave. In order to do that, you're going to need the levels. At this point, I'd probably be taking on something like Castle Ordeals or somewhere like that, where the spells and the monster mix is fine. As we see, Will picks up an Adamant, so that's not a bad find.
It's not. It's on this first floor, so theoretically it doesn't take that much time. One of the things that's different versus, say, the Swiss rounds is we're facing so many more encounters, so it takes longer to get your things out of here if you find something.
Yeah,
but that said, that is something worthy of taking out.
Yeah, Warp hasn't been seen yet. Exit is level 6, so and it's Red Wizard locked, so it's going to be tough to get some of these items on these sort of dungeon dives. That's why I would have liked to have seen an Ordeals route. If Will's looking for treasure chests and levels, hit something like Castle Ordeals. It's a good mix of undead. You've got your light axe, a good mix of undead, and mix of monsters that will die to Ice 3 charges at level 1.
What I will say, though, is this very much gave him an opportunity. There was a chance for equipment to be here that he wouldn't have gotten otherwise, that Edge couldn't have gotten, or probably would not have gotten, because pretty will be last resort to start checking Earth Cave chests. So, gave himself a chance to get an equipment advantage.
Well,
I think that's what the play was.
Speaking of equipment advantage, Edgeworth now finding a Pro Ring, the Aegis Shield, and now the Opal Bracelet in Volcano.
Well, now you really want that tail. Dragon Armor, Aegis Shield. Plus 2 ribbons. That's kind of a dream, defensively.
Yep, now all he has to do is just find that tail, and he's in fairly strong shape. I don't know if he's going to go get that Adamant, but perhaps he feels like he'd be fine with the Vorpal. We don't really know if he's on Team Vorpal or not. And speaking of Team Vorpal, if somebody has that hotkey icon, we are still taking our votes for our sword, the best sword in your opinion, between the Vorpal, the Mass Mune, the Excalibur, the Defense Sword. We're also taking polls for our mascot for the spring tournament. And then we're also taking a poll on our bonus stream for our winners. We did 4 thieves last time, so we're going to eliminate 4 thieves. But if you want to see your favorite class, go and vote in those polls. I know Ali G's trying to bring them up, but I don't think any of us know the commands. It's all Czar who handles all of that. Huge props to Czar, one of our tournament admins who does that sort of thing. If you can locate those polls, that is where we want to encourage you guys to go vote.
So the Revenge of the Agamas continues. The last time I did this, they had Stone, AoE, Poison, and today they have Toxic, so rip the Agama facts.
Oh, and that was an Agama encounter that he did not initiate, like those 2 trap tiles right there are Agama encounters. So I almost can say for certain he's going to skip the red D chest because that's 2 Agama fights he probably doesn't want to take.
Yeah, if there's anything Edge really wants to find right now, I think you'd be looking at Masamune, of course, and Power Gauntlet secondarily, just because with Fast and Temper and Abundance, it's not quite as important to pick up Power Gauntlet in this seed.
Yeah.
But
The only reason
rather have it than not.
Yeah, sure, you would rather have it, but one of the reasons to have it, like at this point, is on the odd chance he has to one-man mode any of the final bosses. Otherwise, he is going to have a bounty of Tempers and Fasts at his disposal. Should not be a major issue.
Rearranging the party to deal with Carrie. It's kind of easy to take for granted, but your levels are probably lower here than you do at Vanilla, so...
Well, I think that so long as she doesn't bust out anything crazy like Thunder or, Blaze or something that's like kind of party wiping at this point, he'd be all right. But it is good to move his melee character down there. So we got double ink from Carrie. This is definitely a good sign. You can definitely do this so long as the one source of damage doesn't die, and that is your fighter.
Yeah, and he could have quad X'd there. That was a good spot to do it in, because there's no way Carrie had more hit points than 300 at that point.
And huge props to Cyclone, our restreamer / seed roller. Those polls I mentioned earlier are now in the chat. I want to encourage you guys to go and make your voice heard for our community as we see Willcleosis taking on the Steak and Wings combo, putting it on ice. That's just not the way you prepare your wings.
Just a terrible encounter to take. It's entirely too much HP, they're too durable. It's just a big time waste at this point. But yeah, he's more looking to go to ordeals than a grind there. I thought he was doing an overworld grind.
As we've got, I would say a high 5, but Will's kind of chasing the tail at this point. Both of our runners are heading to Castle Ordeal. I think Edge is in a better position not having to take these encounters. Will's trying to grind out maybe another level or 2 on his way to be in a little better position. With the housing market being cheap, I don't mind that play, but you can see where it's sort of creating some separation between the 2 runners.
Edge has covered a lot more ground overall, but in terms of actual accomplishments that move you towards the end of the game, right now really the only thing Edge has is purchase the crown, which is not going to take that long for Will, and he finished Volcano, which by the time Will goes there is not going to take that long. So there's definitely minutes of separation, but it's 10 would be arguable if I were trying to quantify it, which is always risky. Don't do math while live on Twitch.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough call because it's going to be depending on who gets out of here first and how you assess that. Do both of our runners make it out of that? You never know what's on the other side here. Neither of our runners have exits. They're going to have to take the zombie D encounter.
That's probably not the one that scares you the most. What I've come to find is I get more worried about the big pack encounters. Only 3 Medusas here, not horrible, but if they fire off Blaze 3 times, that is horrible.
Yeah, there could be up to 5 Medusas in that encounter. We also still haven't seen the Mummies encounter, which I think is up to 5.
Oh, Will with the great path through. I think he first tried the Pillar Mace. Defense Sword is a great pickup.
Yeah, definitely a solid pickup for Will. Edgeworth's going to pick that one up as well. That's in a sort of obvious chest. So, unfortunately, there's not going to be much of an advantage there. The only way that you're going to make up some ground remotely is perhaps that Adamant pickup would be more beneficial if Edgeworth does not go down into first floor of Earth.
Even on levels now, interestingly enough, as we get the Sun Sword.
Even on levels is kind of interesting because that would favor Will slightly in that he probably would have an easier time in the volcano. But that's going to be how he ends up having to make up his time. Can he do the same dungeons as Edgeworth, but faster? That's really going to be how he makes up his time.
And in particular, I think he's got to be able to do the last two faster. He needs to be able to do Sky Castle and Sea Shrine faster than Edge is able to. That's going to be difficult because Edge has got so rewarded with his equipment.
So we've got our rod.
Nearly synchronized between the runners.
And that is going to leave 2 locations and 2 items left. We are looking for the slab. We are looking for the tail.
So one has to be in the ice cave, one has to be with the robot. Now, this is where the dilemma comes in. Do you go for the robot because you're going to go to Sea Shrine anyways? Do you bypass the robot for right now because you don't have warp or exit?
Man, that's tough. Because, see, if you're in Will's situation, you won't have exits. So no matter what, you're going to have to make that decision based on a run-in and run-out. The question's going to be, is it mandatory? Another sort of thought is our runners, as I kind of suspected, are kind of waiting till the last minute to do Ice Cave. Getting some nuke charges will help get them through, but Ice Cave is definitely not friendly when your top spell is Ice 3, and so I kind of expect... I don't know, I almost half expect Edgeworth to just go ahead and go to Sea Shrine before Ice Cave, but it really depends on how many charges of nuke he has, because otherwise he's got Harm 2 for the undead and Ice 3 for everything else. It's not the best spells to do, and he is taking a Tyro fight. Guys, clip this. You got lucky.
The other thing is, without the slab yet, that may have been one of the goals in going to Ordeal first, is ideally you'd like to do slab, have the translated slab, and do the Fang get the chime right around the same time you cash in the bottle.
Yeah, that's usually nice, because if you already have the bottle and the translated slab and the cube, but you're on the desert side of the world, I would actually like to do Mirage Floating Fortress. The experience is better, the chests are a little more densely packed if that's what you're looking for. Is Edgeworth looked in Black 7 but not White 7. White 7 actually doesn't give your Red Mage anything, and you need level 20 to cast it on White Wizard. So chances are you're not even going to get to use your level 7 spells unless something horrendous is happening. As we got another little bit of tail chasing right here, as Will is also going to turn in his bottle.
Here comes our next big chance for a route divergence. Does one of them go Ice Cave? Does one of them go Sea Shrine? And
yeah,
Edge seems to be going Sea.
Yeah, this is kind of what I expected, just because, like I said, the spell allotment does not yet allow him to really cleave through the Ice Cave until he gets some good charges of level 4, which is probably going to be around the 15 mark or so. 15 or 16 is going to net him 4 charges of 4, depending. His Black Mage will have, I think, 4 or 5, and his Red Mage will have 3. But that's really what his kind of clearing spells are going to be. He'll like his odds better against Kraken with the ability to buff his fighters' attacks and attack power. But for clearing out the Ice Cave, I don't quite think he's ready for that.
So in terms of progression, really, the difference is not that great. Will has to do the crown chain, and he has to clear Volcano. You can do Volcano pretty quickly, especially if you go mode it. But that would be a little unfortunate for him with the results of the actual equipment available. But it looks like now he's going for the crown.
Yeah, so Edgeworth's hitting up Sea Shrine, probably get the last few levels. He's doing Sea Shrine first because he's either going to get 16 and go get exit, or he's just going to walk out his waterfall item. As he took a death to his Black Mage there. Didn't see what that was.
That was Blizzard from the seafood platter.
Oh, that's not pleasant.
I think it was the scorpions, but I'm not positive. We saw scorpions and the snakes in that fight. There were no trolls.
Yeah, so he does not have the levels. He may be trying to get 16 on that white wizard or white mage. Well, it's in slot 1, so I think white mage can actually use it. I think he might have that exit on his white mage, just not the charges yet. If he can get that 16 before he comes out of the Kraken fight, he can go get that waterfall item, no problem.
Naga, as Will finds out that, oh, it was Estus along.
I'm still shocked.
You and Files. Estus not playing nice. Is that a Sun Sword to the face? He only took 16 damage.
Yeah, see, Astos has a scary high evasion rate. We learned this in the league stages when we had to do our 4 white mage round, in which at some point one of the seeds came out where we were having to melee Astos because white magic was just not that good. And so we learned that Astos actually has a scary high amount of evasion by default.
Yeah, who was it that learned this again?
That may or may not have been me.
At least we found that out outside of a race. Okay, yep, it's lobsters, and there's 7 of them here, and that's not nice.
Ooh, and he may have 2.
Here.
Yeah, he may have 2 ribbons, but if all of them are casting blizzards, that's gonna chunk him down pretty hard as he takes a reset there.
Yeah, so there you go. Now, although Edge made it further and got that knowledge over Will, they think they're now even on dungeon wipes.
I'm real torn about what to do here because you don't have the good means to go through Ice Cave. You don't have the exit for that waterfall, and you're trying to get progression and levels at the same time. But I almost wonder if you need to go ahead and find that tail to cash it in, get yourself that dragon armor, move your 2 ribbons so that you have 3 party members that can absorb the blizzard easily.
He does already have an ice shield on the knight, so if the ribbon's not on one of the mages, he could theoretically do that, but this is a potential opportunity for Will, whether he knows it or not, if he goes to the Ice Cave first. How difficult does this Sea Shrine prove to be?
Yeah, I just think Will's going to have a bit of a tough time in Ice Cave. I think if Edgeworth went to Ice Cave right now, he'd have a bit of a tough time. The only way I think he gets out of it is if the undead are friendly, and, well, it's the Ice Cave. It's basically Marsh Cave 2.0.
The other thing we really don't know yet is how common are these snakes going to be. Now, only 2 of them here feels a whole lot better than 7 of them. But they're usually common enough that you're not going to be able to route them out.
In addition, it's going to become a potentially resource-intensive fight, as you will encounter those on the seafloor. As Will is talking to the dwarves now, I think Will's gone a little crazy.
I think that tells you where Will thinks he is. If he thought this was neck and neck, he wouldn't be doing But
No, I think he's got to feel a little tilted from the start to the reroll to discovering that White Mage was really the better pick than the extra Red Mage. He definitely has to feel off tilt right now.
meanwhile, he has started working his way through these crown chests. He's gotten the Warple. He's gotten some other good stuff. We know that the kind of the best stuff we've seen is really in the volcano. But I gotta think if he's still in race mode, he's going to go mode the volcano. If he doesn't go mode the volcano, it's because he's hoping to get equipment that Edge doesn't.
That's it. I think that's it. I've seen Will play long enough. Will likes the more conservative play. If he feels like Edgeworth would have missed the Aegis Shield, the Opal Bracelet, those are in places that are, well, I guess one would argue could be slightly out of the way if a Go Mode runner went through, as we do have Will going for the Ice Cave play here. We're going to see whether or not Ice Cave behaves. He definitely likes to play it a little more conservatively. His win over Tristal, I believe, came because Tristal go-moded himself too early into Temple of Fiends, in which Will was able to get the items necessary to overcome. Unfortunately, those items in this seed are fairly open and in the way, and so there's not really going to be an equipment advantage for him.
Well, on one hand, if you're Will, this is what you'd want, a route divergence that gave you a chance. On the other hand, this second trip through Sea Shrine was a lot more mild for Edgeworth. I'm not even sure he saw a cast of Blizzard that time from a lobster. He saw a lobster once. I'm not even sure he saw it as a second encounter.
Yeah, and Will hasn't seen this yet, so he really has no idea what's coming.
Kraken with fire, too. Of course, you have to take on Kraken without Brax, so that feels bad.
Yeah, he's taking on Kraken without Brack, and I think only a handful of nuke charges. I mean, at this point,
resistant nuke at that.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say at this point it should be good, but hey, you know, with a 146 nuke, you never really know.
He's doing a little better.
So our like all of our Swiss flags, our enemy HP ranges are all stat ranges are 67 to 150%. With Kraken's base HP being, I think, 800, he can have up to 1,200 hit points. So it's really not that bad.
Well, the nuke got off. I was going to say it's time for Quad X strats. Low would nuke over Quad X.
The only downside is he is still one level short of exit. So decision time, whether or not Edgeworth decides to make the play to go to Waterfall Cave. Maybe on his way he finds the Ocho, Frostgator, whatever fight, and maybe can get to 16. But it's really going to be interesting because he does not have that charge of exit yet.
Yeah, you can force that, and I think it's worthy of force in that situation. You don't want to do that for just any level, but if it gives you the first charge of exit, here especially.
And lo and behold, it's the Frostgator fight. Frostgator, Red Karib is a pretty experience-rich fight.
So we're about to get a look at our last two incentive items. Mage Staff is a great find here. Very good thing to have in the Ice Cave.
And Edge is going to grind that last level out. Will skipped over the two chests in the holes room, just opted to go down the center hole. So he's checking some of the other chests, but he is going to miss two pertinent chests in that room.
You can understand skipping the mage encounter. That's not unreasonable at all.
Yeah,
maybe
Edge
if you're worried
definitely
about spell resources, you don't want the extra steps for the other one.
Yeah, Edge definitely wants the 16th level. He is not going in there without the ability to get out, without having to run this out. These Frostgators are giving him a little trouble.
Ice 3 one-shot of the eye. Does Will, as he picks up his slab, go for more here? Nope, he's just getting out of here.
I think I would have liked to see him go for more there. If there's anything he could have, it's getting those extra easy-ish levels, maybe 1 or 2 more levels, get them kind of easily. You probably can get them on the back end if you get that. Since he has the slab now and the cube, he can actually go route Sky first. So that might, be a better use of levels or whatnot. But this waterfall cave is definitely going to lead to the tail.
That will soon bring us down to our last incentive item. Edgeworth is going to find the tail here. So the tail of the tape, as far as locations go, the merchant item was the crown for sailing from an area. The king handed over the canoe, the princess the floater. The pirates had the cube, the ice cave held the slab, castle ordeals had the rod. The sages had the loot, Sarda had the bottle, and Robot is going to hand over the tail today.
And we found 2 ribbons out of the crown chests. Otherwise, Volcano has a great many of our other good items. The Vorpal Sword, borderline good, but Dragon Armor, Opal Bracelet, Aegis Shield. Actually, I can't remember where the Dragon Armor was, but the Adamant, which Will has, is in B1 of Earth, and so we'll see if Edge makes the routing to go down there, or if one of them stumbles upon the mass meat.
The one thing that Adamant could do for him is, for the first 2 fiends, without question, it's better. Kraken 2 even still is probably better. Once you get to Tiamat 2, Chaos 2, you're probably better off with the mass meat. You are better off with the mass meat. You're probably better off with Vorpal, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's going to depend
could
purely.
Potentially get him through Topher faster, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's going to purely depend on the absorb rates. You want those higher critical hits on absorb rate monsters. So this run was one of those ones where Will's definitely got his work cut out for him. He re-rolled about 3 minutes in and opted from double red white to triple red, and then discovered the seed was more white mage than red mage, and so the immediate decision to re-roll set him back a few minutes, and then unfortunately he lost access to key things his white mage would have had access to: wall, life 2, etc. Thankfully he found the nukes at 4, life at, I think that was 3, 5, whatever was that. What was life? Wasn't 3.
Was it 4?
I think it was 4. He's gonna need the tail for that though. Unfortunately, though, as Chad is pointing out, he is not sufficient level for... Actually, he can't learn Exit. That is a white wizard only spell. And then in addition to that, he a white mage as well. He is not lacking... We're lacking Warp. We have not seen that either, which leads me to believe it is actually at 8, because I think we've seen Black in both level 7 shops. So I think Warp's at 8.
The other interesting thing is, as far as item progression goes, right now it would actually be advantage Will a little bit, but on the other hand, Edge has also gotten 2 orbs done.
Well, I don't know. I kind of disagree, only because Will hasn't checked the volcano yet for some of those key items: Aegis Shield, Opal Bracelet, etc.
I mean the incentive items.
Sure.
Or plot items, or whatever you want to call them. I'm not talking about equipment, just in terms of what's required to beat the game.
Yeah, but I think it's going to matter how Will perceives his volcano dive. If he perceives it as go mode, we mentioned earlier, I don't expect him to, but should he decide to perceive that as go mode, he is going to miss out on a couple of good items.
Right, so now Will has to walk it out, which is going to feel bad with this encounter table, but 5 Whiz Mummies. Take that fight!
Oh,
5 Whiz Mummies!
That would have been a solid experience. Well, maybe he's feeling like He hasn't cashed in that tail yet. He doesn't want to get too many more levels on the fighter. That's about the only thing.
That could be. I would have not minded extra levels at all here. I mean,
well, that is the shame of it. The shame of it is that he has to walk this out and probably not take these encounters. Because what have we seen? I mean, Invis 2 at 1 is going to be solid. If he can get he's 14 on that fighter. He does not want another level yet. We got Invis 2 at 1. We didn't really have. We had Cure 2, Harm 2 at 2. 3 had not a whole lot, if I remember right. Stuff that might have been White Wizard only. White Mage, White Wizard Life 2, I think so. Invis 2 is probably about the only reason at this point. Who knows?
there's kind of really a dividing line with the fighter, and that is, does he get a life spell or does he not?
Yeah. Oh, I mean,
after that, his Cure 4, and then everything else is after that.
Yeah, I mean, there were a handful of utility spells that if it fell in there, it'd be nice to see, like Ruse. Ruse would allow you to kind of forego the defense sword if you didn't find it. Invis 2's good party utility. Wall would be nice if you wanted to, if you didn't find the ribbons along the way. There's a lot of utility in the white magic stuff that, unfortunately, this seed only really gives you Invis 2. The only is, as someone pointed out, heal 3 was at 1. I would agree, except those heal 3s could come at the expense of Invis 2 charges. And it really depends on how fights go. Certainly those heal 3s are nice in non-resource spending or perhaps healing, but if it were up to party healing, maybe. But in some cases, the Invis 2 is probably situationally better.
Will is going to be the first runner to do class change. That'll come at 55 minutes. Edge has checked more treasures than I actually expected.
I think Edge usually forgoes the class change, but I don't think he ever really cares enough to make sure his knight stays under those levels to get the appropriate number of charges. I've watched, I think, 2 or 3 matches of his now. I think I've commentated, I should say, 2 or 3 matches of his now. Then I've seen it's kind of a usual theme, is he really isn't concerned with those charges on the knight.
Yeah, I can understand that, because I don't think there's a lot where, say, charge 3 versus charge 2 makes a huge difference.
Well, in addition to that, in Will's case, taking that 5 Wiz Mummy fight might have been pretty nice. Going through whole dungeons and not taking any fights probably leads to a potential setback in your overall levels, especially if you had to go through a sea shrine before getting that level 15. And if you were so concerned about that, it might cause you to double dip areas. If you had to dive that waterfall, jump out, turn in your tail, and come back and do waterfall, also fighter could have a couple of charges of Invis 2. That's time that it sets him back, and I wonder if that's where he's trading the time value for that.
Well, now we know that Edge is not likely to get the Adamant for Excalibur as he bypasses the first floor. You could do it on your way out if you really wanted to, but I don't often see that play.
I keep saying I would do it, and then I forget to do it. I don't expect him to do it.
But hey, it's what I'm here for. Outline people's options. If I don't do that, I've got nothing.
What else would we talk about if we didn't talk about what people could do? Oh, Wyverns of Crack. Look at that.
Well, another reason not to take the Steak and Wings encounter.
Those wings bite back.
Which is interesting because he killed that encounter before but didn't see that, I don't believe.
No, and the other thing is he's noticing Cure 4 is outside of the Red Wizard purview. If it were in the top slot, he could have had that one. But because it's in the second slot, no Cure 4 for the Red Wizard. That life spell is available to him if he hasn't been to Melmond yet to go get it. I don't think he has because he used the shrine to heal his party. I guess I would have gone to Melmond maybe to go pick up life. He's about to find out the hard way on the Blizzard Lobsters.
don't think he has necessarily better equipment, although he's got the defense sword and probably Vorpal on one of the red mages. Could be the other way around. No, he's got Excalibur and probably Vorpal on one of the red mages, so... Got a little more melee power, and he's definitely got more nuke charges here than Edge did. Kind of good news, bad news that he gets through that first one without seeing Blizzard.
Yeah, I'd hate for him to get lulled into a false sense of security.
But that said, you're usually not going to feel safe around those lobsters anyways. And now he knows. A little bit better RNG, only taking the 2, and like that he's trying to throw out the heals to maybe escape this a little safer.
Yeah, the one downside to Knight Triple Red Wizard is also the run rates are kind of rough, and so he's trying to kind of counterbalance that with the heals to try and stay alive long enough. As Blanket, you missed it. There went the vampire.
There's a vampire in this game?
Well, he's gone now.
Oh. And the unrunnable.
Yep.
The true unrunnable, I guess I can call it that.
Yeah, despite our unrunnable shuffle, this is actually one encounter that is not shuffled. This will always be unrunnable. To save space, I think it was. There's an A side and a B side to every fight in this game, and this is actually the B side to the Pirates fight. And so because the Pirates fight needs to remain unrunnable for purposes of the flag that nets you the item, the B side, which is these with Sahag, Red Sahag fights, also have to remain unrunnable.
So, kind of interesting that Edge did not unpoison the Black Mage, which is, you're obviously not escaping your nose that he's poisoned, you can hear it. But that suggests perhaps he wants to damn that Black Mage for Sky.
Well, maybe. I suppose that's a possibility. But at this point, Life 2 is a better cure spell than Cure 4. And perhaps if he just died, it would just be able to bring him right back. Question from Slick Fingers in chat. Could they make the Pirates runnable? The purpose behind the fight is, I believe, a flag that gives you the item once you've beaten the Pirates. So it'd kind of be, I guess, maybe akin to trying to run away from the Fiends fights. You can't really progress forward unless you actually win that fight. And I think because of that, it either creates some issues or otherwise is purposeless to make that fight runnable.
Here comes Edge going in to see Bahamut and get his class change. I think he used a saved item, so he did actually heal the Black Mage.
I think he can't help that at this point. I think you're right. He might want to Dan him to gain a couple of extra levels on that fighter, get him some more swings of the weapon, and things that'll make him a little more powerful. If Nuke's going to take out your Black Mage, seemingly regardless of level, whether they have 250 hit points or 194 hit points, just Dan him and let the fighter take that experience and be all the better for it.
Yeah, he could move the Black Mage to the first spot going into Mirage if he really wants to commit to that strategy, but...
Well, if his Black Mage is poisoned, all he has to do is actually go through one full round, and that Black Mage would be dead. Oh, it looks like they're not poisoned anymore, so...
Yeah, maybe it was a case where he was figuring Life 2, or if the Black Mage died in the Lich fight, it just wouldn't be much of a loss. Edge has got the Sun Sword, he's also got the Vorpal. Will has picked up those as well as the Excalibur. Equipment-wise, they both have the 2 ribbons. Our tracker has the white shirt for Edge. I did not see that pickup. Did you catch where that was?
I didn't. It's in the ice cave. Hangry, thank you so much. Frost Dragon Room. Did Will get that, or did Will skip that? That's one of the I expect both of our runs to.
Will definitely skip that. He didn't take any of the extra fights, which is understandable. Bye, Kraken. And that is the first orb for Will. 103. That's not a pace you're going to feel great about, but this one treated him a little rough early.
Definitely. And I mean, at this rate, I almost expect him to blitz right through Volcano. We'll see what he does, because he has the tools necessary to go to the Floating Fortress Sky Castle. He might come down here, take out Lich real quick, go get his slab translated. Nope. Looks like he's making a liar out of me.
What Will really did, I would say, was he focused his progression on the items instead of the orbs. So, looking at the timestamps, he got to most everything either reasonably close to Edge or even before Edge did, but not able to make much hay with that because of Edge also getting the orbs done, and now it's 3-1 lead there.
Yeah, and you definitely don't want to spot Edgeworth any amount of minutes, which unfortunately he did spot them to re-roll his party from 2 reds and a white to 3 red mages. That automatically spotted Edgeworth 3 minutes, and then just sheer execution has widened the gap between them.
Getting spells now, including Fade. I think what Will's best friend at this point would be a very difficult Topher, where you just needed to kill things, because he is going to be well equipped to do AoE magic to kill things, and that's his best advantage over Edge. So he kind of needs the encounters to be rough and the fiends to be maybe a little mild.
Yeah, I'm really torn on that, because realistically, I honestly think they've been on even footing equipment-wise. I think the Edge is even getting the white shirt gives him a little bit of an advantage there. If Will makes the right routing through the Volcano, then they will be relatively on even footing with Aegis Shield, Opal Bracelet, appropriate number of Pro Rings. I think they both have Dragon Armor. Will's going to have a slight advantage on the Excalibur over the Vorpal Sword. But realistically, I think they're on pretty even footing gear-wise. All the items kind of been handed to them at some point.
Yeah, biggest thing being those ribbons, they just make such a difference. Throwing Defense Sword on top of that, Defense Sword makes White Shirt a little more of a luxury. Defense Sword is actually more powerful, so you can defend that knight faster with it.
Yeah, I think ultimately you want, I think for pure evasion, you want, I think, 4 charges of the Invis 2 or 2 charges of Ruse. You want 160 evasion. I think that plus your natural evasion puts you right at the hit cap, where I think you can only be critically hit to actually do damage to you. And so the defense sword helps because you can get to that threshold a little faster, but with Invis 2 being at level 1, that is something that White Shirt's going to help mitigate some of those charges here and there. But realistically, White Shirt is not necessarily a requirement unless you're actually physically going to equip it to your White Wizard, which is what Edge did.
Which is a very reasonable thing to do. It is an upgrade from bracelet. Also, he didn't have enough bracelets, so he checks out the party room with the nicest bats in the game.
Yes, all those bats you see in that room have been misbehaving at some point in the Earth Cave B3, and so they were given their very own room to play in, where they will spend all of eternity in a miserable zeros and ones hell.
That actually started out as a bat room. There were already bats in there, but more bats have been added because they got moved from elsewhere in the Earth Cave.
Yeah, one of those things that people may not realize from the vanilla game is there are a certain number of movable NPCs that have had some small changes done to them. I don't know if you know this, Trenton, but I actually have fought the crusade to have one of the poor elves in Elfland lobotomized.
No, we have the one that's already been changed near the end.
Yeah, that's actually the one that was a result because they spawned probably one step to the left of the inn, And more often than not, they'll take that one step to the right and block your in access. And so I raised a little bit of a complaint. Oh, we've got our Warmech sighting. Forget the lobotomized elf.
Chad, you kind of let that one sneak up on you. One person called for Warmech. The rest of you were slacking. What were you thinking? And what's with this complete lack of hype in chat? You've all seen it by now. Where's the hype? He's even fighting it, chat. This deserves an appropriate amount of hype. If you're watching this on YouTube later, I still expect the Warmech hype, just to be clear. Yes, so this is interesting information. We talk about this from time to time. Warmech is on the same pool as for skills and spells as the final fiends in Topher and Chaos. So whatever information you garner from this fight gives you that much more information for Temple of Fiends Revisited.
Yeah, so we have an Ice 3, a Lit 2. So far, these are spells that are not going to be a part of the End Fiends, so you almost, maybe not right this second, but almost would have liked to have seen a nuke or nuclear so that you know it's not on the Fiends pool. You know, obviously you don't really want to see there's Crack. That is something our endgame Fiends won't have.
Yeah, I would consider that a pretty bad Warmech fight. Not that you got the experience, not that you beat him, but you want some of that nastiness out of the way. Even if you had to redo the whole dungeon and get back there, that's a lot nicer than dying to, say, Kraken 2. So seeing nothing of the really nasty stuff is bad news.
Yeah, Warmech normally comes with 4 charges of nuclear in the skill tree. Those 4 also get shuffled out into the Fiends, as well as there being 2 charges of nuke, Inferno, Swirl, Tornado, a whole host of nastiness. Not seeing any of those means that a lot of that stuff kind of gets pushed back towards the Fiends. And so we'll see what Temple of Fiends has in store for us, but we know there are a handful of spells now we can count out of their pool.
We have Will picking up his second orb. He relit the Earth Orb at 110 as Edge gets into this fight against Tiamat, but apparently doesn't have Brain or Brack, so great.
And it's kind of a dense Tiamat. Was that 7 for 84?
Could have been.
Stack those tempers. Here they come.
Hitting for 4 hits, by the way, but 400 damage there. Won't take long. One more hit like that should do it. And what did I say? 400 and change? That didn't.
111. By finding the power gauntlet, it's not going to be that important for reasons like that right there.
Yeah, the support spells are there so much that it really deprioritizes the power gauntlet. But you definitely want to have pro rings then if you're not going around with the power gauntlet.
Yeah, going around with the pro ring, the Aegis shield, and the dragon armor is going to protect you from 6 of the 8 elements. So that's a pretty nice thing to walk into Topher with.
Less than 2 minutes spent here in this volcano, so Will is really go-moding this place.
And unfortunately,
he's
going to miss out on that Aegis shield. That Aegis shield is going to provide his fighter with, I think it's earth and poison protection. He's also going to miss out on an opal bracelet, which is a nice chunkier bracelet. 32 absorb. 42 absorb. It's really nice.
Yeah, so I kind of go back to what I just said, that I think Will's best case scenario is going to be the random encounters in Temple of Fiends being the difficult part, where he can blast them with nuke charges that Edge just doesn't have, and then he needs to not need those resources against the Fiends.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Will, that Warmech getting the experience for Edgeworth's fighter and white mage are definitely going to help push over the top, as Edge is unfortunately learning that Life 2 is out for both the Red Wizard and the Knights. Getting those levels on the Knight is going to be paramount when it comes to fast and temper charges. He's going to be able to eat through Absorb and Evasion just a little better at that point. We'll see what Will's level is when he gets to Temple of Fiends, but right now, Edgeworth's about to take his dive into Temple of Fiends, whereas Will is just getting started. I don't know if he's actually dumped his slab. He is not. He actually has to do the couple minutes out of the way to go dump his slab for the chime.
Yeah, so Will did the entire volcano in less than 3 minutes, by the way.
So we've got Edgeworth entering right at the 114 mark.
Question, did they already get the loot? You know what? I haven't run through the items in a while. I'm going to do that. Our merchant item was the crown in the sea. The king gave us the canoe. The princess the floater. The pirates had the cube. The ice cave held the slab. Castle Ordeals had the rod. The Circle of Sages held on to the loot today. Sarda had the bottle. And the robot handed over the tail.
Both of our runners found 2 ribbons thanks to the key chests. One of them was in the Dwarf Cave. The other was in the Crownlock Castle Canaria. So 2 ribbons are available for our runners. The big difference is Willcleosis re-rolled his party away from red, red, white to triple red mage. And so he unfortunately locked himself out of spells like Life 2, out of Wall. So we will see if, we never count Topher out. Certainly a good wipe in Topher makes this the great equalizer. So we'll see how Edgeworth handles this.
A very good question in chat if the final boss will be Chaos or different. As far as the Swiss round goes, it's going to stay as just Chaos. It's not going to be different in the Swiss. There are new flags available which can give you an alternate boss fight. Not that you can pick it, but it can be randomly assign a different alternate boss fight for a different experience. So that's a very fun flag to check out.
There are some that are bosses.
Yeah, I just call it a final boss fight. No guarantee that it's only one enemy.
I know it's not coded, but you know what I'd like to see in this game? I'd like to see 4 consecutive Fiend battles without the break to be able to heal in between fights.
Lich opens with fire too. You've got to hope that you one round him and then the rest of his list is full of all kinds of nastiness. Because Edgeworth has that experience of several rounds against Warmech and just didn't see anything that bad. So you know it's out there.
Yeah, you're really hoping, I guess mainly and primarily, you're hoping he has the nukes and the Cure 4, because Cure 4 is a terrible thing to see deep in the Fiend list. Certainly bad if Chaos has it. Not so bad if you're good on your melee, but you never really want to see that Cure 4.
Here is the vampires for Will. He's got the fire 3s to dispatch of them. I didn't see if he checked first for treasure here.
I don't think he did. I think he literally is blitzing through this as fast as he can. This is an area I think he did make up a little time. I believe in his match with Tristal, either Tristal or Maya, he did try to make up a bit of time by just simply blitzing through the level, through the dungeons.
Chat confirming he did not. Good hit on against Carrie, and just melees in return, so no spells of nastiness out of Carrie. Good news, bad news situation.
Yeah, some
50% of this boss pool being out of the way. But the trouble is you don't know what's with the rest of them.
You're doing math on Twitch again. It's actually 60%.
4 Fiends, Chaos, Warmech is 6.
Nope, it is 6. Yeah, that is 50. That's why you don't do math on Twitch, folks.
Always be twice as careful when you're trying to correct somebody.
Yes, that is very true. And now I have to get this egg off my face. I'll be right back.
That's okay. You got a whole nother match for that coming up after this.
That's right. Right here on Speed Gaming 2, right after this, we're going to have a 3-0 match between Ikman Maya and Salty Fry. That is going to be a fantastic match. You guys aren't going on and miss it. Leave your dial tune to Speed Gaming 2. We will pick that up after a very short break at the conclusion of this match right here. As Edgeworth is making his way down to Kraken 2, we will see if there are any fun shenanigans with the Slap Happy Octopus.
Now, there is a fight that Edgeworth is going to feel bad about leaving behind. That was a great big pile of experience. Will actually diverted and checked the chests in Sky Castle where normally the shirts are, so he got 2 of them really quickly there, but not much to speak of. He got flame armor. This was a ninja seed, but he doesn't have the ninja.
Yeah, the one thing that makes these fiends really, really bad is if they have nuke in that first slot. Is Kraken opens to the Quad X, that's a good sign. But sometimes these fiends can be incredibly difficult if their first set on their skill list is some sort of big spell or big skill damage.
Ice 2, not that scary. Can you get him?
And Kraken 2 is not
only 200 damage.
Not Slap Happy either, which is a really big deal because he can easily have punched out one of his party members with ease.
Well, Edge is not messing around. He's breaking out the nukes as Lit 2 comes out. Still enough to take out the Black Mage. 300 damage. That's still not a lot.
Yeah, and I know I've seen a nuke or two, so I mean, this has got to be kind of a vanilla to high HP as the Knight gets stunned.
Only 80 damage from the Fade. That's horrible, but the nuke gets the job done. He didn't have that many HP, but he was resisting those spells.
Yeah, that's pretty rough, so I was glad to see him overcome that. That was a fairly reasonable Kraken 2. Not a whole lot of melee. Don't take that for granted, because if something happens up here and he has to run through that again, there's no guarantee that Kraken doesn't start swinging next time he passes through.
Oh, the airs have Blizzard. Apparently it's on the Medusa script today.
First the airs, first lobsters, then the air.
And they have Blaze. Edge did not see that.
Wow, poor Will.
That is RNG on display. Sometimes it just goes that way. He's got a good amount of nuke charges and fade charges. If he doesn't have to use too many of them, that's going to be good to have in reserve for Chaos.
Quadix not getting the job done there as Edge does switch to the Vorpal Sword.
Tiamat 2 doesn't have the elemental weakness for Excalibur, so Vorpal's usually going to outperform it for Tiamat 2 in Chaos. But still, it's just not getting the base damage.
Yeah, unfortunately it has the base damage of Silver Sword, but Quadix getting the job done there, dropping below 300 hit points.
And that's why you get Quad X. Gets off the floor without the X-String counter. And after he heals up, maybe changes equipment around. Here we go.
Yep, and so we haven't seen anything yet, really, out of any of the Fiends.
Will, without the life, has to two-man this, and still a chance he's going to see Warmac. Maybe did a few more steps than Edge, so he might be at a different spot in the encounter table. That is an interesting call that Edge leaves the Knight in front, but he's got so many Invis 2 charges. You've got 2 Invis 2 charges plus the defense sword going off round 1.
I think he has to like his chances of getting defensively stacked to the point where the rest of the party needs to just sort of buff the fighter, which would require him to leave the rest of the party members alive. This includes temper charges, this includes casting nuke, fades where available, fighter being in front with enough mitigation to protect his party's ability to buff him is going to be what allows him to overcome any absorb or otherwise.
Very good damage hit. This Chaos doesn't have long to live unless he pulls out something.
A nuke would be a little terrible, but his fighter should be high enough to overcome everything. Never mind, that's it.
At 1:23 and 28 seconds, Edgeworth is our winner of this 2-1 matchup. He's 3-1, on pace to make the brackets. Willcleosis will square up his count, and there's Warmack. A win and a Warmack at the same time. What more could you ask for out of a Final Fantasy race? He's gonna take the encounter too.
I think at this
he would
point,
have done this if Edge hadn't been over, but
yeah, I think this has got to be his chaos at this point.
all right. So we didn't see that much nastiness out of Warmack, and entirely possible for Will to do this with just the 2 members. So apparently this Warmack can hit.
Yeah, this was probably one of the more tame Temple of Fiends that we have seen in these Swiss flags. As we are now joined in the Speed Gaming commentary booth by Edgeworth, GG Edgeworth.
Thank you.
First question I have to ask. So that Warmack fight, huh?
Yeah, I think, level 19 going into that, and I just felt like I'm going to need a little extra oomph, so I might as well give that a shot. And, yeah, going into Topher with 21 on the night, that felt a lot better.
Well, Will went up to you. He not only did the Warmack fight, he did it with only 2 party members.
Did he try a 2-man strats?
No, he just found out that airs have Blaze and Blizzard.
Oh, yikes. Yeah,
So,
I don't think I saw an air elemental the entire time.
Yeah, the Topher we were just remarking is probably one of the easier Tovers we've seen out of these Swiss flags. You just sort of went right through it almost like it was butter. I don't really think you saw anything major out of any of the Fiends except for what was on Warmack.
Yeah, I didn't see nuke, I didn't see nuclear, so that let me set up, and if you have time to set up, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, this scene was very friendly to you, front-loading all your gear. I mean, you had to do the back end of it with the Vorpal sword, but you had your Dragon Armor, you had your Aegis Shield, you had an Opal Bracelet, you had your 2 ribbons. You really got handed a lot of things here.
Yeah, I was kind of happy that I did the crown chest. I dug Volcano out for the money to do that, just figuring, maybe I'll find a better sword or something, and I just found everything instead.
Right, here comes Will against Tiamat 1.
But yeah, it felt pretty good. Sun Sword for the Fiends that didn't have the highest evade and absorb, and then switched to Vorpal on the back end. Everything worked out pretty well.
So kind of the only hiccup on the road seemed to be the Sea Shrine when you found out that lobsters had Blizzard.
When our lobster's not nasty though.
Did you even see a Blizzard the second dive though? I didn't notice one.
I didn't. I was able to. I didn't get the 7-pack on the second dive.
The only hiccup on the road seemed to be
I
the Sea Shrine
ran straight through that floor.
Lobsters had Blizzard. Did you even see a as I'm hearing myself in echo, 3-1 now. The bracket stream is still very much alive.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. I mean, that guarantees the playing game at least, so it takes a lot of pressure off.
Yeah,
Will
and
has finished all 4 orbs and decided that is enough for today. I mean, hey, you beat a Warmack.
yeah, and we do have another race coming up after this, as we are now joined in the Speed Gaming booth by Willcleosis. Will, man, GG. Tough breaks there.
it happens. At least I made it to the race on time. Eventually.
GG, Will.
Edgeworth, congratulations. GG's. How was your run?
It went pretty smooth. I'm guessing I didn't run into some of the stuff that you did.
Airs, lobsters, and giants got me early too.
Yeah, the giants and the lobsters got me. Fortunately, I didn't lose too much time on those. I never saw air elementals.
I made up for it for you. Congratulations, Edge. GG's.
Yeah, GG.
So, Will, I have to ask you, because I think it's the most pertinent question everybody wants to know. Why did you re-roll out your white mage for a third red mage?
I was asleep. I was still asleep. I had just woken up, and I saw the Ice 3. Was Exit in White Magic level 1?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
it was a white 6 top slot, so it was red wizard excluded.
Fade ended up being at 6. I don't see what the benefit might have been to stay the same.
Well, you lost life 2 at 3, and you lost wall at 1.
Wall, yeah.
But you did make up for it by finding 2 ribbons. It's one of those safety plays.
Mhm.
We justified. Oh, go ahead.
I decided that you probably saw the. I was gonna go back to the mermaids. I was gonna do what I did in my other big match, but I just couldn't. I couldn't get into gear. I was spinning my wheels, and so my backup plan was to hit first and second floor of Earth. Well, I didn't have warp or exit, so I'm like, okay, I'll at least do the first floor, maybe I can get something out of there. Up pops the Excalibur. In my studying of Edgeworth, that's the one constant that I've never seen him do. Was check the first and full second floor of Earth. I've never seen that, so I knew I could potentially gain an advantage there. And when the adamant popped up, I'm like, okay, all right, not bad. We'll go ahead and go with this. I need to get the tail as soon as I can. So immediately to the ice cave, ordeals, ice cave, that sort of thing. Unfortunately, the tail came a little bit later. The decision to reroll was I'm playing a great player, and Ice 3 was there. I can spam that as best that I can. Maybe my move pays off. Maybe it gets me, the Dragon Armor. In this case, the Excalibur. Maybe it gets me something else, and maybe I can compete with this top-tier elite player.
So, Will, you drop to 2 and 2. You enter a sort of secondary bracket of death. This is now a do or die. So, I know you certainly can't feel, on top of your game coming off of this nap and unfortunate sort of match here. But I know you're going to prepare for this next match, right?
Absolutely. I prepared for Edgeworth as best that I could. Maybe I won't nap next time. Maybe I'll take a rest earlier. It's going to be great. I really wanted to really just win one game in this tournament and have a good time. Winning 2, and I don't think it's too big of a secret. The lineup that I've had to face, administrators, incredible players, experienced players, has been a tough lineup, and it's been an honor to do that and to get 2 wins out of that. Wow, I'm very satisfied, no matter what it is that happens.
You have represented yourself well in this tournament, and we wish you the best going forward to Edge as well. Any final thoughts for either of you?
I'm impressed with the scouting report. So nice move there.
Triton, thank you very much. I'm excited to move on to watch the match tonight in just a couple minutes. Ishbin Maya, who took me out, started this little landslide for me, obviously, in Salty Fry. I'm going to sit back and watch it, and I hope everyone enjoyed the show. Thank you.
For Sando, you don't need to get a last word in. You've got plenty of them coming up.
I've got so much time, babe.
All right. Well, thank you to everyone who joined us for this match. Hope you're going to stick around for more action. I'll just be a spectator on the sidelines. Thanks, everybody, and hope you have a great rest of the day.
Stay tuned. See you in about 10 minutes.